What if you were the following? You 1. Like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and 2. Are a massive pussy. Can you be Oblivion Remastered without attacking anyone? For my character, I chose Breton because of their high mysticism and restoration skill, I'll explain why later, and made my character as pathetic looking as possible. I had a small chat with Emperor Vase Septum and began my escape from the Imperial prison. Obviously, I can't attack anyone, hence the title of the video, so I was forced to just run past all of the rats and hope they don't bite me too hard. For my birth sign, I chose the Tower for the Reflect Damage spell. You see, this whole playthrough hinges on me using Reflect Damage, because savvy Oblivioners will know that there are instances where you are required to kill someone. By using Reflect Damage on myself, I'm not attacking anyone, yet they will die just by attacking me. In theory anyways. I'm not going to be lame and use summons to fight for me. I already did that. Now, Reflect Damage isn't a normal spell you can just find or buy. Outside of the Tower Birth Sign, you can only get it in the Shivering Isles DLC, which I don't know how to do because I'm a scrub at this game. Unfortunately, the 5% reflect effect and the once per day use means this spell is pretty much worthless in its current state, so I'll need to craft a better spell down the line. There is the magic version of Reflect Damage available called Reflect Spell, but I'll have to buy it later on. Anyways, I got front row seats to Emperor Vase's assassination and made my class. Cause I can't attack, a good chunk of these skills are worthless. The only ones that really matter are Alchemy, because there are ingredients that have the Reflect Damage effect, Mysticism because Reflect Damage falls under it, and Restoration, just for general healing and stat boosting. Once I finally escaped, I began my master plan for this playthrough. Now, in order to make the Reflect Damage spell reflect 100% of damage received back, I need Mysticism at 100. The way you level up magic skills in the remaster is to just use them over and over again, and how much experience you get is directly tied to the magicka cost, so the more magicka a spell uses, the quicker you will level up. However, there is a problem. Those spells cost a good amount of money, and I need at least 50 in a skill for those spells to start leveling fast. And because I can't kill anyone, money is pretty hard to come by, because I can't just sell off the loot I get from murdering people. I resorted to joining both the Mages and Fighters Guild just so I can steal everything valuable they had so I can pawn it off, and all the while spammed my spells to level up my skills. Be grateful that you guys don't have to do this, because this was both unimaginably boring and took nearly 2 hours. But I'm glad to inform you that I finally acquired enough money to buy the spells and got the necessary skills to 50 for the real work to finally begin. Grinding both Mysticism and Restoration to 100 took 40 damn minutes, and once I was finally done, I went to Frostcrack Spire to create the necessary spells so this playthrough is even possible. Leveling up all of my skills got me all the way up to level 17, and I haven't even started the main story yet. But that ends now. This is where the real game begins. Now, my current strategy is to use a spell to buff my magic so I can use Reflect Damage. Unfortunately, this strategy only makes the game possible, not easy, or even remotely fun. You see, enemies don't take a whole lot of damage when I reflect their damage right back at them, and my spell only lasts for 10 seconds since it costs way too damn much if it was any longer, and it already costs quite a bit to cast. Worse, because the damage is so low, multiple casts are required, but as I said, the spell is already pretty damn expensive, so this of course means I just run out of magicka and forced to run around for it to regenerate. It doesn't help either that I'm level 17. Stronger enemies now spawn, who of course have more health, which is the final nail in the coffin for this disaster of a playthrough. I opted to just run past everyone so I can get to the Sigil Stone, because there wasn't a hamster's chance in a garbage disposal that I was doing that. The inevitable came, however. In order to proceed further, I need to get a key from one of the Dremora, which means they need to die. This was without a doubt the most miserable thing I've had to do in Oblivion so far. I can cast Reflect Damage maybe twice, which does fuck all in terms of damage. Then I'd run around and wait for my magicka to regenerate, and what's worse is that sometimes my magicka can't even be bothered to regenerate either. After expending nearly every healing potion I had due to tanking damage from running around, the Dremora finally died. After I ran past even more enemies, I closed the gate. Now all I have to do is get Martin, right? Nope. We now have to fight our way to the chapel, and I'd like to remind you that the enemies are all high-level variants. The poor soldiers didn't stand a hamster's chance, and I was left with around 5 of these guys to deal with on my own. I've already complained a ton already, so I'll just skip to the part where they all died. Maybe it'd be better if I had died too. Anyways, I found Martin's bitch ass, and guess what? More enemies. This time mythic cult guys, and these guys really don't take a lot of damage when reflected back to them, so I let the other NPCs handle it instead. Next up was finding these cult guys. I let Boris do all of the killing for me, but when it came to the cult guys, he was a big disappointment. He didn't manage to kill a single one of them. Come on, dude. One of them eventually died. I took his book and ran away from the other two. I then tracked down the cult to their cave, but I might have accidentally brought an ogre along with me, and it killed two of the cult guys, ruining my plan of infiltrating their ranks. That's okay, I don't have to kill anyone for this part, so I just rushed through, grabbed the magic book, and sped past everyone. Easy peasy. Afterwards, I decided to jump into an Oblivion game to get a sigil stone. You see, sigil stones are able to be used for enchanting, which is usually done with soul gems. I thought that enchanting my equipment with reflect damage would be a good way to alleviate my magical problems. My plan, however, crashed and burned, as I failed to account for the fact that sigil stones have random enchantments, and you can't change them. That's fine, I didn't want this playthrough to be easy or anything. Still, I thought my enchanting plan was pretty sound, so I was off to find Azura's Star, a Daedric artifact that I usually sacrifice to Martin in order to progress the main story. At Azura's shrine, I accidentally brought another ogre who killed two of Azura's worshippers. I hope she isn't pissed at me for that. As punishment for getting her followers killed, she ordered me to kill more of her followers who had turned into vampires. Getting rid of them was actually pretty easy for once. The reflect damage finally pulled its weight, as apparently these vampires have a damage buff which can get reflected right back at them. With Azura's Star collected, it was time to fill it with a soul for enchanting. How can I get souls when I can't attack anyone? I just cast both Soul Trap and Reflect damage, and watched them essentially jump right into Azura's Star. Unfortunately, I wanted a Grand Soul for enchanting, which is a huge pain in the ass to get as only a few enemies have it, and all of them are rare spawns. All of the enemies that are currently at my level only give greater souls, which is so damn typical that I can't get what I need. I was eventually able to find someone who sold Grand Soul gems containing Grand Souls. However, not only do these gems cost quite a bit, but it costs a veritable fortune to enchant just a single item with a Grand Soul. And what's worse is that reflect damage is not an effect you can apply onto items, yet you're able to find items that have it. Enchanting is just so good, guys. So the only relevant effect was Fortify Magic, which was pathetic on its own since it was a measly 24 points. I applied it to 2 items and drained the last of my cash. Now I was presented with 2 choices. I either 1. Waste my life grinding for money so I can eventually afford to enchant the rest of my gear for shitty magicka buffs, or 2. Give up. I chose to give up all hope of enchanting my items because this playthrough is already long enough. I forked over Azura's Star to Martin and proceeded with speedrunning through Oblivion Gates. I decided to get additional aid for Bruma, as there is no way Martin would survive the battle later on in the story with just Bruma's guards. Doing this got me some additional cash, which I decided to splurge on potions instead of enchantments. They're dead to me now. Only Kavacha's reinforcements were left. I took one look at what I needed to do to get them and noped out immediately. With the aid for Bruma more or less gathered, it was off to find the Emperor's armor. Grabbing the armor actually went pretty smoothly. I ran past all the ghosts, had the blade free themselves, and grabbed the armor. Finally something goes well. Soon after, it was finally time for the Battle of Bruma. All of the reinforcements I got allowed Martin to survive for once, though some of them were slacking off like I was. Once again, I speed ran to the Great Sigil Stone and closed the gate. Though Martin may have survived this battle, Joffrey did not. That's what he gets for losing the amulet in the first place. Martin then opened a portal to Cameron's paradise to retrieve the amulet. Adramora challenged me to a duel, but the overwhelming guilt of fighting someone that wouldn't fight back gave him a heart attack. I then picked up a little minion who said he'd fight Mankar Cameron with me. During Cameron's speech, a spider drummer bursted in and all hell broke loose. Despite the spider being on their side, they killed it for me. That's nice of them. Then it was time for them to fight me, where I spammed all of the potions I had bought to reflect as much damage at them as possible. Unfortunately, Mankar Cameron became wise to my strategy and refused to attack me. If he doesn't attack, then I can't reflect, putting us in a never-ending stalemate. That is, if it wasn't for the minion I picked up, who was able to kill Mankar Cameron. Thanks, Eldamil. Maroons Dagon, however, is a very sore loser, and decided to invade Tamriel himself. I tried to use reflect damage on him to save the day, but to my disappointment, it didn't work. Instead, Martin one-upped me and turned into a dragon and sent Dagon back to Oblivion, saving the world. And with that, I had beaten Oblivion Remastered without attacking anyone. Thank fuck it's over, Jesus Christ. Thank you very much for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more challenges. If you got an idea for a challenge, I'd love to read it in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you have a nice day. Bye bye!